Hello, welcome to another interesting session of Science Made Easy. My name is Enchu Makion, and I'll be your facilitator for today's lesson. Today, we're going to be looking at an interesting aspect of biology that tends to affect the life of humans and virtually every other organism. So if you're ready, let's get started. Today, we'll be looking at the life cycle of flowering plants. And by the end of this lesson, the learner will be able to describe what a flower is. The learner will be able to give at least 4 unique examples of flowers. The learner will also be able to draw and label a flower. And lastly, the learner will be able to give the functions of the various parts of a flower. So now the basic question is, what is a flower? A flower refers to the sexual reproductive part of a plant. What this means is, for the plant to be able to produce young ones of its own kind, it needs the flower. And this is with reference to flowering plants. For flowering plants, the next generation of young ones that will look and be just like them depends on their ability to bear flowers and the flowers to function sexually. There are so many examples of flowers. These include daisy, rose, iris, sunflower, violet, mimosa, lily, daffodil, bougainvillea, and a lot more. And I'm sure you know even examples that have not been listed here. Now let's look at some of the uses of flowers. Flowers have a variety of use, especially to man. We have so many reasons why we need flowers in our life. But for the sake of this particular lesson, we'll be looking at just a few of the most common ones to us. Number 1, flowers are used for decorations. Flowers are used to decorate in many different ways. When we go to our homes, we find flowers all over the place. When we go to our churches, we use flowers to decorate the place, especially the pulpit. When we go to parties, we see flowers. When we go to weddings, we see flowers. So decorations cannot be complete unless flowers play a very important role in it. Also, we get aroma from flower. Aroma simply means a sweet scent. Now, the aroma of flowers are often extracted and used for perfumes and aromatherapy. So, what people do, mainly scientists, is they extract the sweet scent of the flower, and then they add a few other things to make perfumes, which we use commonly and virtually every day. Aromatherapy simply refers to the use of natural scents, sweet scented materials or substances for healing. It has a lot of health benefits. And I know that people who even have stress and sometimes anxiety normally use some of these therapy means for healing. Another equally important use of flower is medicine. Flowers and other plant parts are purported medicinal properties. They have so many medicinal properties. Example, the hibiscus flower or the hibiscus plant is an ornamental plant, but at the same time, the flower of the plant are used as herbal tea across many parts of the world. Even in Ghana, we use the flower to make our popular beverage, Sobolo, which most people enjoy. The sunflower also has a lot of medicinal benefits. The seeds contain great amount of vitamins, phosphorus, magnesium, and other essentially good nutrients for the body. The flower also gives us honey. We go to the market, we buy honey, Some of us, we use it in our beverages, in our tea, in our Liptons and what have you. But have you ever wondered how it comes by? Yes, the flower plays an important role. The flower produces what we call nectar, and as the bees come to suck the nectar, they use this nectar to make the honey, which we so much enjoy. So flowers, as you can see, is very important in our life and hence should be well taken care of. Now the flower as it is, ideally we should know what makes up the flower. The flower is very small, delicate, but within it are other important parts. So what you have is the structure of the flower. It has many parts, and then in the part we are going to look at the main part of the flower. Now the main part of the flower is the stamen, the petal, the sepal, the peduncle or stalk of the pedicel, and the pistil. Again, the main part of the flower are the stamen, the petal, the sepal, peduncle or stalk or pedicel. In other references, and we also have the pistil. These are the main parts of the flower. But in these main parts of the flower, we have other parts. Example, when you take the stamen has the anther and the filament. Then, when we take the pistil also has the stigma, the style, the ovary, and the ovule. Other equally important part of the flower is the receptacle. So this basically makes the parts of the flower. So when you are asked, what are the main parts of the flower? It's very simple. We have the stamen, we have the petal, we have the sepal, we have the pistil, and then we have the peduncle, which we've said to be also called the stigma or the pedicel. But if you are asked to give the parts of the flower in general, then you can go on and say the stamen involves or has the anther, the filament, the ovule which forms part of the pistil, the ovary, the style, the stigma, which are all part of the pistil, and then we have the receptacle, which is also another equally important part of the flower. Now that we know these parts of the flower, let's look at some of the functions of these parts. We have the first one we're looking at is what we call the sepal. Now, what is the sepal? In our video or in the previous slide, we saw the sepal at the base of the flower, and the sepal simply is a leaf-like structure that is found in flowering plants, which are also called angiosperm. And what they do basically is that they form a bud and they protect the flower during the bud stage. So if you look at this image here, you can see that it has opened and you can see the colorful petals showing. That is the flower. But before it showed as this, it was in the form of this bud. And this bud, this green part, this leafy part is what we call the sepal. So the sepal is a small leaf-like structure found at the base of the flower, which protects the flower during the bud stage. I hope you remember that. Good. Another important part of the flower is what you call the petal. The petal is the most colorful part of the flower. It comes in different colors depending on the type of flower. We have red, we have yellow, we have white, we have violet, and so many different colors. Other parts of the flower are the stamen, which we said comprise of the anther and the filament. So the anther, as you can see here, is the main machinery that produces the male sex cell, which is called the pollen grains. And the neck, so to be called, is called the filaments. The neck or the filament holds up the anther. Now, if you look at this image here, you can see some tiny powdery-like substance found on the anther. That is what we call the pollen grain. And it's the pollen grain that is the male sex cell of the plant or of the flower. So we have the anther at the top, then we have this neck-like structure, which is the filament, and on top of the anther is the pollen grain. And together, the filament and the anther form the stamen. Good. Now, the female part of the flower is what we said is called the pistil. The pistil comprises of the stigma, the style, the ovary, and the ovule. The stigma, that is the top part of the entire female part, which is the same as this part. If you're looking at this flower, this red part, that looks like a crown. What it does is that it accepts pollen grains that has been transported onto it. So this stigma accepts the pollen grains as they fly from the anther here, to the female part. The stigma accepts it. Now, if you look at the stigma, it also has a neck. The neck of the male part we said to be called filament, but the neck of the female part is called the style. And what the style does is that it transports the pollen grain, which will fall on the stigma, straight through it into the ovary. This section, the ovary, which contains the ovule. I hope you understand. Great. Now, the ovary, as we see it, is what grows after fertilization to become a fruit. And we know that most fruits in it have what we call the seed, and the seed develops from the ovule. So, once again, the top part of the female part of the flower is the stigma. The stigma is connected to the ovary by the style, and then the ovary develops to form the fruits, and then the ovule develops to form seeds. Great. Moving on to other parts, we have the flower stalk. Flower stalk. What is the importance of the flower stalk? This plant or this flower, as you say it, has a very long stalk. Now, what the stalk does is it connects the flower to the plant. So you can see the plant at the base here, and you can see the flower at the top here. So for the flower to be connected to the plant, in order for it to receive nutrients and water plus any other essential thing it needs the stalk. So this stalk, long thin green, long thin here, connect the flower to the plant. And before the stalk comes in, you get to see that we have the sepal here, then this is the peduncle of the stalk, but the sepal sits on a small base which is called the receptacle. So the receptacle forms the base of the flower before it connects to the stalk. Great. So this marks the end of our lesson, and this is your assignment. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and also like this video. So until we meet again next time, this is Science Made easy. Bye bye.